Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Super excited to be back for another Power Up conversation. Really excited to have Anna Locke join me today. We're going to be talking about media math, her career, her new venture, and very importantly, a new baby, which is very exciting. Actually, he's probably a little boy now. Anyway, she'll be joining me momentarily. And here she comes. Yay. Oops. I think she's coming with agency light. Hold on. Yeah, got it. Awesome. Let's see. Give her a minute. Connecting. Awesome. Oh, look at you. Look so pretty. How are you?
Hi, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
Good. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me today.
I'm so glad you're joining. So I just wanted to give a little, I always like to give a little intro. Um, Anna is joining us. She's one of our experts. She's teaching a course on media math, which she's doing with Linda Fernandez. So super excited to have both of them. We'll be talking to Linda next week. But one of the things that we like to do with Athenium Collective, which is an online education platform where we bring industry experts to teach knowledge and skills that have to do with marketing, advertising, and media. And the courses are all on demand. They're amazing. And we're excited. We're going to be launching Media Math very soon.
Yeah.
And we'll get into kind of what is media math and what does that mean. But in the meantime, I kind of want to start with just an introduction to Anna. And it was so funny. I was thinking about when I first started working with you, which was over a decade ago.
Yes.
That is crazy. And I was thinking, I think it had to do with Toyota,
Yes.
right, at Saatchi and Saatchi. Was it the Top Chef integration?
Yes, we're working on Top Chef. Yep.
Exactly. And that was one, it's so funny because I was thinking back to, a decade ago, kind of how different things have changed. Like in my view, the relationship between a media seller, because I was always on the sales side, you were a media buyer, so you were always on the buyer side of it. We kind of moved away from this partnership. Like I felt like we always had a very partnered relationship, and over time people have become vendors. And I think it's just an interesting sort of thing, and I've always thought of you as somebody who, when I work with, is more of the partner relationship.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's not even the time, it's more about how people are and what their work ethics is. Funny enough, when I was just starting in the industry, I was always taught that you always need to treat people as your partners. We couldn't even use the word vendor. And it just sticks in my mind as I was growing and building my career that no matter who you work with is your partner. And once you have that mindset, it helps you a lot with building the relationship, with negotiating. You have the common purpose, because if you're a partner, you play on the same team. It's not one against the other. You treat each other with respect. And, at the end of the day, it's the best for the business. It's the best for the client.
I am so glad you said that, because that was the one thing I was thinking about. I was thinking about the fact that, this was a big partnership. So Toyota was the client. They were integrated into Top Chef. Yes. And the integrations this wasn't just a regular commercial. This was, you were driving around in the Toyota. We had started the Last Chance Kitchen. And so Toyota was integrated into that and trying to figure out how to make that meaningful. And sometimes things worked and sometimes they didn't. But what I loved about working with you, and I thought Saatchi in general was like this, was that if there was a problem, we were in it together to fix it. And that's the difference, really, I think, between partners and vendors.
Yeah, and from our standpoint, it wasn't about, okay, the car just needs to be there no matter what. And we always listen to what the talent has to say, what the producers has to say, what's the DNA of the show, does it make sense? We worked very collaboratively on building the integrations, and I think that was a true branded content. I think you're right, it wasn't just a commercial, it was organic integration of the vehicle into the show, where it seemed very, very natural.
Yeah, it's actually my favorite thing to do. Like, that's my favorite part of our business, is when, the commercial and media placement and those branded content. Oh, amazing. So can you tell me a little bit about your background, how you ended up getting into media and advertising.
Yeah, so I'm Russian originally, as you probably everyone can hear from my accent. When I was growing up, advertising industry was in infancy in Russia. So the job in advertising didn't really exist. So I didn't know about it. But my mom came across the article that described the PR job. And she said, oh, it seems like a cool job. Maybe one day you can look into it. So fast forward several years, I was participating in the competition, a national competition in Russia, and I won it, and I got a full ride scholarship to the University of Missouri Columbia in the States.
Wow. And who put
yeah,
that on?
very lucky.
Who put on the Russian competition?
Well, actually, it was a competition sponsored by the U.S. Department of State. So it's their program, and they did with Russia and some other countries where they just wanted to introduce people or the winners of the competition to the American lifestyle, provide some education, and then you go back to your country and just implement, your knowledge and share your knowledge.
That's amazing.
So it's not the exchange program because there is no real exchange, but it's, some lucky people like myself just had to go to the States and study for a year in the university and just immerse themselves in culture. So I was sent to the University of Missouri Columbia, and I found out that that school is one of the best journalism schools in the country. And I looked into it, and it had the advertising sequence as part of the journalism school, and PR was one of the electives. So wow. I took it and absolutely hated it. I realized PR is not for me. I'm not interested in writing press releases or dealing with crisis management every day. So that just didn't work out. But because it was advertising sequence, I got introduced to advertising. And the first class I took was the principal strategic communication. And I absolutely loved the teacher and the subject. And because I loved the teacher so much, I saw what else she was teaching. And one of the classes was media planning. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. So I took it and I fell in love. So once I took that class, I knew exactly that this is my path. I will only be doing media. And once I graduated from college, I packed my car and drove to California and started applying for media jobs in advertising. And that was 2008, which, if you remember, was the hugest recession.
Oh, so yeah.
No jobs. And it was definitely a process of getting one. So I was told that, oh, you just need to get your foot into the door. Just apply for any jobs in advertising. And I was so stubborn on just doing media that I only applied for media jobs. And it worked out. I got an internship at RPA. It was a paid internship. And the rest is the history.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And you actually got an MBA as well.
Yes. I also have an MBA from Coleman University in San Diego. So I was working already at Saatchi when I was doing MBA at night.
And do you feel like your MBA was helpful? Because I know a lot of people wonder, especially in advertising, how much schooling do you need?
That's an interesting question. I think that at the beginning of my career, I didn't feel like it was helpful at all. I just felt like, it's good to have a diploma and say, oh, I have an MBA, then this is it. But as I progressed in my career and got into more leadership roles, I think it helped me to understand the business from the client side. So understand how the agency is run in general, that it's not just, you're not in the weeds of doing your own job, but what is the business portion of it. And I think definitely the MBA will be helpful to people who will go from agency to the client side.
Yeah, that makes sense, actually. Definitely. It's interesting because now that I think about it, if you were at RPA, which is automotive, you were at Initiative Automotive, Saatchi Automotive. Have you mostly worked on auto clients?
My specialty is automotive, yes.
That's right, and Mazda too.
Yeah, I say that I pretty much worked in everyone who is in LA. Yes, I worked on Honda, Toyota, Mazda, Hyundai, and Kia. So pretty good chunk of automotive on the West Coast.
Exactly.
I do have some experience also in entertainment and insurance and some smaller brands too.
Yeah.
But the bread and butter that I did was automotive.
And when you think through kind of like media, what is your favorite part of it? And why would you recommend it to maybe other people who, I think when people think of advertising, I don't think people really know that much about media in general.
No, I don't think people even understand what media is.
Why don't you explain it?
Well,
Mm.
it's hard to explain to people who don't really understand it, because the first thing you say, I work in advertising, people are like, oh, you create commercials. And you're like, no, I'm not creating commercials. I'm the person who find people who would be interested in those commercials and place the buys or that media in front of those people, whether it's digitally, on TV, or on print. I think sorry.
It's okay.
Explaining to my mom and my grandma of what I'm doing is still a challenge for me, because they don't have that concept of buying media or planning media. But overall, what I like about it is it's always innovative. Advertising is an innovative industry in general, but in media, you do what you do every day, right? Like, you are online, you watch your favorite shows, you on your phone all the time, play with different apps, and you bring that aspect of your life into your work environment, and you create something new and you innovate. And when you're working in media, you have to be a step ahead on all the technology that's happening, because advertising is very competitive, and everyone's like, oh, you need to think outside of the box, but there is no box. It's just such a cliche right now. So everyone is competing for the same thing. And it's interesting how the landscape of our media is changing. What it was when I started in 2008, when the iPhone was just introduced, to what it is right now. It's a completely different thing. Sometimes we joke about, remember when people were so excited about clicks on their phone, when they got 50% click-through rate on every ad they saw. It's not because it was so phenomenal, it's because people just didn't know how to use the phone, so they were clicking on everything around it. So it's just interesting to see how the world progresses, and you'll have the actual impact in it in the advertising industry.
Yeah, and I think that's what people don't realize a lot of time, that media is so much more than just placing the ads, that, getting the most work from your media plan is those people who know how to leverage it for like branded content, cool sponsorships. And that's where I think understanding the media math is so important. So I was really excited. One of the things I do get asked a lot is about media math, and not just the math. Well, there's the digital math. So the CPCs and the CPAs and the, CPMs, but there's also specific math to television. There's specific math to print. There's specific math to out of home. Yes. And it's something that I get asked a lot. And it's really interesting, because one thing I hear a lot is from, now there are people who've grown up only digital, right? So they only know digital math. And so if you tell them, well, what's the reach and frequency, right? Like the way you would do with a TV buy, they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So I think it's interesting, because in this course we go through all of it, and it will help you no matter where you are in terms of the different mediums. But let's face it, you kind of have to know them all now.
Yes. With the development of the industry, and TV dominated the advertising world for a long time. It was the primary medium, and now I think it's the digital that drives all the changes across all the other mediums. Now TV is converging into digital with all the streaming, and even if the TV stays as analog, they have to adapt certain strategies and certain technologies from the digital standpoint. Out of home goes digital. Print has their tablets that goes digital. So digital has a huge impact on everything. And you're so right in terms of how people learn. My learning process was completely different. I started in digital. So I started in digital in RPA, and I was working in digital at Saatchi. And then at some point, Saatchi went through reorganization, and they built integrated teams where when you work on your plan, you plan everything. And that was a shock for me to start learning broadcast. So, broadcast people a lot of times say, oh my God, digital is so complicated. For me, broadcast was complicated because I knew digital, on top of my fingertips, but broadcast was like, oh my God, how do ratings? What? But it was just so weird. And I think the challenge in the industry in general, and pretty much in all the agencies that I worked at, that there was no comprehensive training on the media math.
Mhm.
There were bits and pieces in terms of, okay, we have a deck that explains how to do broadcast, or you work with your planner or supervisor, and hopefully it's a good one who will teach you what the formulas and definitions are for digital or whatever mediums that they're working on. But there was no comprehensive material where like at school you go and you learn everything. You just learn on the go, you collect your bits and pieces, you write your formulas and definitions in your notebook, and you'll learn as you go. And I think it's a good approach in general to learn, but if you want to get a bigger picture and understand how different pieces work together, it's definitely better to have a comprehensive understanding and comprehensive course from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Even you will start implementing your formulas and definitions as you go, but it would be good to know that, oh, this is how print is doing it, now it makes sense, this is how TV is doing it, this is what I need to pay attention to.
Yeah,
Like
it's so interesting because one of the reasons why I started at the NAM Collective was because I would meet young people who were going to work at agencies, and they would say, "Here's the 5 PowerPoints that I got that are your training." And I was like, "What? I got to just look at a PowerPoint and figure it out?" I'm like, there's got to be a better way.
yes.
But what I think is so interesting is that there's the agent. I think agency, absolutely, it makes sense. You would have to know this, but I feel like on the sales side, it's even that much more important, because if you're selling against print and you're selling against out of home, or you're trying to get somebody to buy your medium, for example, you need to understand what they're comparing it to. So if somebody says, well, why would I buy that, that CPM when I can put that spot on television and get a 3.2 rating? Well, what does that mean? Like, how do you compare something if you don't even understand the math behind it?
You're absolutely right. I did hear a lot. I never worked in the publisher side, but I did hear that a lot of times the publishers appreciate people who come from the agency side and become sellers, because they do have that grasp on how the agency is planning and buying, and the background on what is important for their clients and for the agency. That way they can sell it not just more efficiently, but understand the needs better, exactly to what you said. So I think media math is important no matter what side you're working on. Even on the client side, you're reviewing the plan that agency is providing to you. You need to understand that sometimes it's not just all about costs. There are other things that are important, because even on the client side, there are different departments. Some of them are media, and some of them who are responsible for providing money is the finance, and finance only cares about the bottom line. So, okay, the CPA is really tiny. Why won't we just buy everything on this CPA? And you're like, no, this is not a quality media. This is not how it works, Or you have a branding initiative. Brand initiative has really high costs. So if you want to move the needle on that side, you will need to do this X, Y, and Z. So whether you're publisher or agency or client, or you're just trying to get into media, or even if you work in other departments, you need to understand these things. Like if you work in the full service agency, media and creatives work really, really closely together. And creatives on the digital side have to build a lot of dynamic banners and things that are driven by data.
Yeah.
And like they need to understand too on how things work, because sometimes it's not just about creative idea, but what are the learnings we're getting? Like, yes, this car looks better, but this image of the car or this copy is actually getting better response from the users. So you show the numbers, and creatives need to understand them in order for them to drive the data-driven creative.
Yeah, that actually makes sense. And I think what's interesting is there's math around the buying, but there's math around the performance. There's math around what gets paid in the end. So all of that, and the course covers all of that. So, and that's one of the things I really like about it, is how you guys organize it in a way that is so intuitive. And I think it's really going to help people.
Yeah, I think what Linda and myself did is we really approached it from the standpoint of, okay, we have all these years of experience at different agencies, working with different clients, working with different people, departments. Like, how would we bring the most value? What is needed? And it's not just definitions and formulas, it's examples of how you implement them. It's the background from the planning perspective, even outside of the definitions and formulas. So whenever you plug them in, you know exactly why you do it a certain way.
Now, I wonder if when you went to college, did they ever teach the math part of it? I'm just curious.
They did. So
Oh,
that
they
media,
did. Oh, wow.
so that media planning course that I took that I fell in love with was teaching. It touched on media math, and it was mostly broadcast. So it was cost per points and the ratings, but it was very, very limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just curious because I think that's so, I think,
But not everyone is doing it,
yeah.
and that was a specialty course for media planning specifically.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't even know that many colleges that have actual media. I mean, it's part of your communication studies and things
Yes.
like that. But yeah, I think it's a really helpful. So what's next for you, career wise? Like, what's your aspirations? What do you, what do you want to do next
Well,
or now?
yeah, I guess Linda and myself already built our own company that is called Agency Light. And it, we started it a couple of years ago, and it progresses as we go. And it's still in advertising industry, but I think the way how we approach the actual product and people that we're delivering this product to is slightly changing. So that's the main focus of my career right now. At the same time, I still want to be in the industry hands-on. So I freelance at different agencies. If there will be a full-time opportunity that really catches my eye, that I'll pursue that too. The interesting part is that my priorities changed a lot since I had a baby that I
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. I was always such a big career-driven person, and I still am, but having a baby definitely makes you rethink your career path and how you spend your time. I used to spend a lot of time at work, being the first person to come into work and being the last person to leave the agency. I definitely can't do that again anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, as of right now, freelancing and having my own company seems like a little bit more flexible for me. But again, if there is a client that I really want to work on, or some opportunity that I can't pass, then I will consider it for sure.
And he's not even a baby anymore. How old is he?
He's gonna be 11 months on the 25th.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
He's so cute. It's so
Yeah.
awesome. I think being a working mom is actually one of the bigger, it's challenging. There's no doubt about it. I mean, when Nick was little, I always made a point of creating the role the way I needed it to be so that I had flexibility. Because the one thing I didn't want to miss out on, like the mommy and me, and I didn't want to miss out on the baseball games or the basketball games or the parent teacher conference and all of those things. So I always made sure that whatever role that I went into gave me that flexibility, because that's the key. And I think now with remote, the fact that we're all in this virtual world, you're probably going to
Yeah.
have too much time with your kids.
Well, yeah, I think now people start realizing what it is really, how to manage your, work from home and have your kids running around and pulling you apart while you're trying to email or get on a conference call. I think a lot of people actually starting to understand that. So COVID had a lot of negative impact on our lives, but I think there is a blessing in disguise in terms of how our work environment is changing and how people start thinking about work process in general. And I know a lot of agencies going to be switching their model to more flexible, a remote versus in agency work environment. And I heard on the publisher side, there are a lot of publishers also deciding that remote work might be the best. And I think that the flexibility of working both ways will go a long way across the board.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we need flexibility. Do you have any tips that you've been able to use trying to get your freelance work done and all the work that you're doing while having an 11-month-old who is walking probably now, right?
Yes, he's
Yeah.
almost walking. Yeah. I guess the biggest tip is stay persistent. Right now, it's not if you are looking for a freelance gig right now, it's not an easy thing to do because the industry is just not in good shape. But, after every rainy day, there is a rainbow and the sun coming out. So there will be positions that you will be, applying for and get the one that is right for you. But believe in yourself, stay true to who you are. And I think the biggest thing, no matter whether you're in freelancing world or full-time world, whatever it is, I think the biggest thing is your work ethics. If you're really good and you put 110% in everything that you do, you treat people with respect, you provide the best quality work that is ever possible, the job will lend itself. And to be completely honest, I pretty much all my jobs landed themselves.
I'm not surprised though, because you have a great reputation. You're so good at what you do. People generally like working with you. Those things make a difference, and you know what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I guess
Oops, I think we froze. I have to say hi, Monica. And I think you froze for a bit. Oh, weird. Let's see if it comes back. I can see the little circle. Oh, you froze for a bit. You're back.
Yeah, I guess being an immigrant taught me how to develop my work ethics and what I need to do to get to the next level. Because, you know, whether you're here permanently or just here on a work visa, for even to get a work visa, you have to jump the hoops, and a company has to invest more in you than anyone else to give you that work visa. It's a lot of money. So, you know, you're competing against people for the positions that are available here, and there is talent for it. So you really have to show that you are the best, or you're a step ahead and you're bringing the best to the table. And that's how, you know, my persistence and my hard work taught me to get the next job and the next job. And I just landed my next gig, so I'm very excited about that. And again, it came to me itself. So like I said, do your job, believe in yourself, and things will work out no matter what.
Amazing advice. How can people find you and follow you and you know, get in touch with you if they wanted to?
Well, I think the main priority for us right now is Agency Light. So if you guys want to learn about us, know what we're up to and what is on the roadmap, please follow us on all the social media channels with the handle Agency Light, and Light with LITE, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're of course on LinkedIn, and our website is agency-light.com.
Perfect. I love it.
Of course, you can always DM us or find us personally. I'm Anna Locke on, again, all the social media or LinkedIn. Just hit me up and would love to engage in conversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm going to look forward to talking to Linda next week. Hopefully she'll be able to make it, and we'll dig a little more into Agency Light so people can understand all that you guys are doing. Oh, I just see my brother-in-law, Logan. Hi, Logan. You know, all my friends and family joining today. Anyway, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm so excited for this course. It looks amazing, by the way. So we should have that up and ready to go very soon. And we'll be back next week with another Power Up conversation.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Oh my God, my pleasure.
Having us, having our partnership for developing the course for Agency Light Athenaeum Collective. Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for all the girl power and supporting each other. I think that really goes a long way. Thank you so much. We really love working with you.
All right. Love working with you too. All right. Talk to you later. Bye.